What's going on, Not Move Nation? Welcome to the Not Move podcast. Today is February 7th at 8:26 a.m. Eastern Time. I'd like to thank the supporters, subscribers, followers. We really appreciate you guys. We got Blessed Up P in the building. How's it going, man? Good morning. Good morning. Uh, and then, yeah, thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right, we have a loaded NBA slate today. We have 10 games on. Been working hard for you guys this morning. So, this early in the day, we don't have as much clarification as we need with the injury updates, who's playing, who's not playing. We don't even have referee assignments available to look at this time of day. So just please keep that in mind, and then let's go through the injuries. I mean, there is a laundry list of players that are out, questionable, doubtful, probable. So what I like to use and what I've used for several years is a website called rotowire.com, ROTO wire.com, for my injury updates in the NBA. I think they do an excellent job with those updates. So let's start off with Luka Doncic. They're saying here on rotowire.com that he's going to be out today. He's with the Lakers. But yeah, he is out today due to a hamstring issue. Stephen Curry for the Golden State Warriors looks like he's going to be out. There's no timetable for him to return. He's dealing with a knee issue. And then Kristaps Porzingis for the Golden State Warriors now is out with an Achilles issue and being recently traded. SGA, point guard for Oklahoma City, is out due to an abdominal strain. Jalen Williams, there's two Jalen Williams on Oklahoma City, but Jalen Williams for Oklahoma City is out due to a hamstring issue. Josh Giddey with the Chicago Bulls is out due to a hamstring issue. Trey Jones for the Chicago Bulls out due to a hamstring issue. D'Angelo Russell for the Wizards, Washington Wizards, is out due to being traded recently. Needs to get settled in there. Jaden Hardy for Washington out, recently traded as well. Franz Wagner for the Orlando Magic out due to an ankle issue. Brenham for the Charlotte Hornets out due to being recently traded from the Mavericks. And then Kobe White for the Charlotte Hornets now out with a calf issue is what they're reporting here. Chris Middleton for the Dallas Mavericks, doubtful due to being recently traded to Dallas. Joel Embiid for Philadelphia, questionable with a knee issue. Typically, when players are questionable, there's about a 50-50 chance that they play in the game. Jokic, Denver Nuggets, questionable with an ankle issue. Cam Johnson for Denver, questionable with a knee issue. Cam Johnson has missed the past 23 games for the Nuggets. Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns is questionable due to an ankle issue. James Harden, questionable for Cleveland tonight due to being recently traded from the Clippers. Dean Wade for the Cleveland Cavaliers, questionable with an ankle issue. Jalen Smith for Chicago, questionable with a calf issue. Keontae George for Utah, questionable with an ankle issue. Kevin Love for Utah, questionable with an illness. De'Aaron Fox for the Spurs, questionable with a back issue. Keyshawn George for Washington, questionable with a knee issue. Koulibaly for Washington, questionable with a lower back issue. Alex Sarr for Washington, questionable with an ankle issue. Sohan for the Spurs, questionable with a quadriceps issue. Cornette for the Spurs, questionable with an ankle slash adductor issue. Saloon for Charlotte, questionable with an illness. Okongwu for Atlanta, questionable with a mouth problem. Kennard for the Lakers, questionable due to being recently traded. Christian Brown, probable for the Nuggets tonight. He's dealing with some sort of an ankle issue. And then let's see here. Looks like Ty Jerome for the Memphis Grizzlies. they really haven't updated the information on the last two games of the day today, Memphis and Portland, and then Cleveland and Sacramento. I do see DeAndre Hunter for the Sacramento Kings left the game against the Clippers yesterday due to a left eye injury. Did I say anything about Sabonis? He was out yesterday against the Clippers. So we'll see if he suits up today. All right. Let's start with our first game today. We have the Washington Wizards at Brooklyn Nets. Washington is on a 1-game win streak. Brooklyn's on a 3-game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Washington has won one regular season game in a row against Brooklyn. These teams have played each other twice this season, and each of them have won one individual game. The first game was on November 16th, where Brooklyn won at Washington. This game's in Brooklyn today, but on November 16th, Brooklyn won at Washington by a final score of 129-106. The most recent game was on January 2nd, where Washington won in Washington against Brooklyn by a final score of 119-99. Washington has a 1-6 money line record on Saturdays this season, and Brooklyn is 2-1 on the money line on Saturdays this season. And then Washington has lost. Let me skip past that. Okay, so I looked at the line last night at about 11:10 p.m. Eastern time, and then I checked again at about 5:30 a.m. Eastern time, and nothing changed between that time. So Brooklyn was favored by 4.5 when I checked last night and this morning. Over under was the same, 219.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends. I think it was Thursday, right? Every team that I gave an against the spread trend advantage went 1-5. I believe it was against the spread, 1-5 against the spread or on the money line. You may want to, double check that. But I think it's important to keep track of that stuff, instead of just blindly going with teams that have against the spread trend advantages. I think it's also just important to keep track of it. But yeah, overall, I give Brooklyn a 3-0 advantage against the spread. Washington is the 6th worst team against the spread in the NBA. Brooklyn is 24-25-1 against the spread. And then Brooklyn is a perfect 2-0. I know it's a small sample size, but perfect 2-0 against the spread as a home favorite this season. Washington, which ranks best in the NBA, and then Washington ranks 7th worst against the spread as a road underdog this year. And then Brooklyn, after a loss, is 19-16-1 against the spread. Washington has the worst against the spread record after a win in the entire NBA. They're 4-9. All right, so Brooklyn, points in the paint allowed per game, they rank 27th in that category. So there's not too many teams that allow more points in the paint per game than Brooklyn. Out of available Washington Wizards today, Alex Sarr is the leader for Washington in points in the paint per game. He ranks 21st, 21st best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. However, he's technically questionable today, okay? And then Brooklyn allows the 2nd most fast break points per game to opposing teams. I noticed when I looked on NBA.com this morning, they had Cam Whitmore ranked 15th best in fast break points per game, and then Trae Young ranked 30th. But from my understanding, Trae Young won't be playing today. Neither will Anthony Davis, but you may want to double check that. Brooklyn is good at defending against the 3-point shot. They rank 6th best as a team in regards to 3-point field goals allowed per game. They rank 25th in assists allowed per game, so they're near the bottom of the league in allowing assists per game to opposing teams. Keyshawn George ranks 35th best in the NBA in assists per game, and then it's Bub Carrington, who ranks 45th. And, those seem like the big vulnerabilities I see here with Brooklyn today. They do rank 26th in team defensive efficiency, which is bad. Team defensive efficiency is basically just how good or bad a defense is. Excuse me, but they're playing Washington today, who ranks 29th in team defensive efficiency. So they're even worse than Brooklyn in that regard. Washington ranks 25th in points in the paint allowed per game. Claxton, I could see taking advantage of that today. He ranks 48th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game, first on this Brooklyn Nets team in that category. But I do want to mention that I'm not looking at how Washington defends against Nick Claxton's position, which he's projected to be the starting center for Brooklyn today, according to RotoWire.com. Obviously, I'm not saying that go ahead and fire up on Claxton props, but if you like him today, or you come across somebody else's live stream that mentions that they like Claxton and it seems, intriguing to you, all I'm saying is that I could see him getting some points in the paint today, due to Washington's lack of defense in that area. If you guys can find somebody for Brooklyn who's good at scoring fast break points per game, Washington does rank 22nd in that category in fast break points allowed per game. I just didn't see anybody for Brooklyn in the top 50 of the NBA in fast break points per game. And then Washington is below average at defending against the 3-point shot. Michael Porter Jr. ranks third best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, followed up by Dimon for Brooklyn, who ranks 29th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And then if you like anybody for Brooklyn on the assists, Washington does allow the second most assists per game to opposing teams. But once again, I didn't find anybody in the top 50 for Brooklyn in assists per game. And then rebounds allowed per game. Washington allows the most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Claxton is the leader for Brooklyn. He ranks 30th best in the NBA in rebounds per game, followed up by MPJ, Michael Porter Jr., who ranks 32nd, and then Day'Ron Sharpe, who ranks 47th in that category. I also want to mention Washington sends their opponents to the free throw line, the fourth most. They allow the fourth most free throw attempts per game to opposing teams. Michael Porter Jr. is the leader for this Brooklyn Nets team in free throw attempts per game. He ranks 36th best in the NBA. Who do you guys like in that game today, Washington or Brooklyn? What do you guys think in chat? And then we have Houston at Oklahoma City. Houston's on a 2-game losing streak. Oklahoma City's on a 1-game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Oklahoma City has won 2 regular season games in a row against Houston and have won the last 4 out of 5 regular season games against Houston. Oklahoma City has beat Houston 2 times this year out of both games that they've played against each other. The first game was on October 21st. That game was at Oklahoma City, like it is today, and Oklahoma City won by 1 point in double overtime, 125 to 124 in double overtime. But the most recent game was on January 15th. That game was in Houston. OKC won that game 111 to 91. Houston is 4-2 on the money line on Saturdays, and Oklahoma City is 2-2 on the money line on Saturdays this season. Kevin Durant, the projected starting small forward for Houston today, needs four field goals made, so 4 shots made basically, to move into 9th place on the all-time field goals leaders list. He would pass Elvin Hayes on that list. And then I just want to mention that Chet Holmgren does have a perfect 5-0 career record against Kevin Durant. We saw something like that yesterday, right? With who was it? Levine and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard had a 15-0 career record against Levine yesterday. And the Clippers ended up winning that game yesterday. I think it was by 3 points. So I'm not necessarily telling you to go with the trend, but if you went with that trend yesterday, it would have worked out. I know some of you do like to go against the trends as well, so I'll let you guys be the decider of that on what you want to do with those trends. If you want to, roll with them or fade them. So, anyways, yeah, 5-0 against Durant, and then um, Hartenstein has a 7-2 career record against Shingun for Houston. When I checked last night, Oklahoma City was favored by 3.5 points. When I checked this morning at about 5:30 a.m. Eastern time, Oklahoma City is now -2.5. I don't know what they are currently, but just for your guys' notes there. And then the over/under was 212.5 when I checked last night, and when I checked this morning, it's at 211.5. I looked at three different against the spread trends. Hey, what's going on? Looked at two different against the spread trends in this game, and I do give Oklahoma City a 2-1 advantage in those trends. Houston is the sixth worst team against the spread this season. Oklahoma City is 25-27, so I give Oklahoma City an advantage there. Houston is a perfect 4-0 against the spread as a road underdog, which ranks best in the NBA. Oklahoma City's 13-13 against the spread as a home favorite. So I'd give Houston the advantage there. And then Houston is 9-9 against the spread after a loss, whereas Oklahoma City's 6-5 against the spread after a win. But did they lose last game? Let me double check that. It was a big slate today, so I may have had a typo here. Let me just double check NBA standings. Thunder. Okay, they're on a 1-game losing streak, so I need to go back and check that. When I'm looking at who's doing what against the spread, I'm looking at teamrankings.com. So I'm just going to filter this by after a loss. Oklahoma City after a loss against the spread is 6-5. So I had the right number there. I had just typed after a win. Okay. So I do still give Oklahoma City the advantage there. So overall, Oklahoma City wins those trends against the spread trends 2-1. Both of these teams are very good defensively, so I don't have much to say about this game. Oklahoma City does rank first in team defensive efficiency. Houston ranks fourth. Oklahoma City allows the fewest points in the paint per game and the fewest fast break points per game. All right. But where Oklahoma City is vulnerable is that 3-point field goals allowed per game. They allow the third most per game to opposing teams. So, generally speaking, guys that I think could take advantage of that today are Reed Shepard, who ranks 40th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, Kevin Durant, who ranks 42nd, and Jabari Smith Jr., who ranks 46th in that category. Another vulnerability I see here with Oklahoma City is rebounds allowed per game. They rank 25th in that category. So Shingun is the leader for Houston, and he ranks 10th best in the NBA in rebounds per game, followed up with Amen Thompson, who ranks 27th, and Jabari Smith, who ranks 40th. Also, I just want to mention while we're on it, if you guys know of like a big time player such as Jokic, who's missed a lot of time this year, missed a lot of games. When I get to the Nuggets game, you may not hear me say that Jokic is the leader for the Nuggets in rebounds per game, although he probably is. But due to the amount of games that he's missed this season, he's not qualified to receive official statistics from my understanding. Okay. So please just keep that in mind. Okay, so for Houston, I don't have anybody for Oklahoma City's name wrote down on this list because Houston is above average at defending against everything that I usually talk about: points in the paint, fast break points per game, assists allowed per game, rebounds allowed per game, 3-point field goals allowed per game. But I would say their biggest vulnerabilities are going to be points in the paint allowed per game and fast break points allowed per game. They rank 11th in both of those categories. But like I was mentioning, I think, SGA is out today and Jalen Williams. So Oklahoma City is depleted there. And then I do want to just mention that Shingun, the projected center for Houston, does not have a triple double in 17 career games against Oklahoma City. And then Amen Thompson does not have a triple double in 0 out of 9 career games against Oklahoma City. I mean, just because Shingun doesn't have one doesn't mean that he can't do it. Maybe he's had a triple double in like all 5 career games that he's played against Hartenstein, who's used to play with the Knicks. So, I mean, if you're interested in Shingun triple double, I'd maybe look to see, what his history looks like against Hartenstein. Let's move on to the next game here. The Dallas Mavericks at San Antonio Spurs. The Dallas Mavericks are on a 6-game losing streak. The Spurs are on a 3-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. The Spurs have won 3 regular season games in a row against Dallas. Before that, Dallas had won 7 regular season games in a row against the Spurs. The Spurs have won both times that these teams have played each other this season. The first game was on October 22nd. That game was in Dallas. Today's game is in San Antonio. But yeah, that game was at Dallas, and the Spurs won 125-92. The most recent game was February 5th. So just a couple of days ago. That game was in Dallas, and San Antonio won 135-123. Dallas is 5-7 on the money line on Saturdays this season, and the Spurs are 4-3 on the money line on Saturdays this season. PJ Washington, the projected starting power forward for the Dallas Mavericks, has a 9-2 career record against Harrison Barnes, who's the projected starting power forward for the Spurs today. And then PJ Washington also has a 7-2 career record against De'Aaron Fox, who's the projected starting point guard for the Spurs today. He is questionable due to a back issue, though, De'Aaron Fox. Harrison Barnes, I know I'm pretty sure he's played with a lot of different teams, but, the Mavericks did trade him to the Kings in 2019. So if you are looking for like a revenge game spot, you could have that working with you there. All right. So when I checked last night at about 11 p.m. Eastern time, the Spurs were minus 11.5, over under 229.5. When I checked this morning at about 5:45 a.m. Eastern time, the Spurs were they moved from minus 11.5 to minus 10.5, and the over/under went up from 229.5 to 230.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game, and the Spurs lead all 3 trends. The Spurs have the 10th best against the spread record in the NBA. Dallas has the 9th worst, and then the Spurs are 10th best. They rank 10th best in the NBA against the spread when they're a home favorite. And the Mavericks rank 8th worst against the spread as a road underdog. And then the Spurs just barely have a better record against the spread after a win than the Mavericks do after a loss. So I give the Spurs a 3-0 advantage there. Dallas allows the most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. Wembanyama is the leader for the Spurs in points in the paint per game and ranks 37th best in the NBA in that category. Dallas is also slightly below average in allowing fast break points per game. Castle is the leader for the Spurs. He ranks 42nd best in the NBA in fast break points per game, followed by Vassell, who ranks 47th in that category. Dallas is also slightly below average in assists allowed per game. They rank 16th in that category. Castle ranks 10th best in the NBA in assists per game, and De'Aaron Fox ranks 17th best in the NBA in assists per game. And then Dallas allows the 3rd most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Wembanyama ranks 4th best in the NBA, first for this Spurs team in rebounds per game. And then it's Cornette, who I believe is questionable today, right? Cornette. Yes. But he ranks 39th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. And then, it's the Spurs. Both of these teams are above average with the team defensive efficiency rankings. The Spurs are better in that category. The Spurs rank third. Dallas ranks 11th. Um, but the Spurs, their biggest vulnerability out of the main categories that I'm talking about today is going to be the 3-point shot. They rank 17th in that category, so slightly below average. Klay Thompson, he ranks 19th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And then it's Max Christie, who ranks 34th best in the NBA for Dallas. 34th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. I do just want to mention, the Spurs rank second best in fast break points allowed per game, 7th best in points in the paint allowed per game. But, actually, we'll talk about that probably here in this next game with this Utah game, right? Give me just a second here. Is there anything else I want to cover with this game? I don't think so. Both of these teams are above average in limiting their opponents' free throw attempts. The Spurs rank second best in the NBA in limiting their opponents' free throw attempts. Dallas ranks 10th. Wembanyama has never had a triple-double in 6 career games he's played against the Mavericks. And then Cooper Flagg has not had a triple-double in those 2 games that he's played against the Spurs. Then we have Utah and Orlando. And I'll go back up and read what I usually read. But with Utah, they rank 20th in points in the paint allowed per game, right? But it looks like Jaren Jackson is going to be starting in this game. And he was just recently traded, right, from Memphis. I want to just kind of go see where Memphis ranks in points in the paint allowed per game. They rank 16th. This is points in the paint per game. I want points in the paint allowed per game. And just so you guys know where I'm getting that information, like how do I know, points in the paint allowed per game? I'm looking at teamrankings.com. Okay. Sometimes I'm a little bit quick to jump the gun. Like this morning, the show starts really early, and sometimes their system hasn't quite updated yet. So maybe if you look at around like 3 p.m. and you see a different number than what I'm saying here, that's going to be the reason why. Okay. But Memphis ranks 12th right now in opponent points in the paint per game. So I would think that Utah's points in the paint defense could get a little bit better now that they have Jaren Jackson Jr. in that interior. So let's go back up to the top here. Utah is on a 1-game losing streak. Orlando, 1-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Orlando has won 1 regular season game in a row against Utah. Orlando has won the only game that these teams have played against each other this season. They played on December 20th. That game was in Utah. This one today is in Orlando. But on December 20th, Orlando won 128 to 127 in overtime. Utah has a 1-5 money line record on Saturdays this season. Orlando is 4-3 on the money line on Saturdays this season. Desmond Bane, the projected small forward for Orlando today, has an 8-3 career record against Markkanen, who's the projected power forward for Utah. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., the new acquisition for the Utah Jazz, has a 6-2 career record against Banchero, who's the projected power forward for Orlando today. When I checked last night, Orlando was minus 9.5, over under 237.5. When I checked this morning, that line went down a little bit. Orlando minus 8.5. But the over under stayed the same, 237.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game. Utah leads all 3 of those trends. Utah is 28-24 against the spread this season. Orlando has the second worst against the spread record this season out of any team in the NBA. And then Utah is barely better than them as a road underdog against the spread than Orlando is against the spread as a home favorite. Utah's 11-11 against the spread as a road underdog. Orlando's 9-11 against the spread as a home favorite. And then Orlando is 19-16 against the spread. Utah is 19-16 against the spread after a loss. Orlando has the second worst record against the spread after a win this season. So I give Utah the advantage in all three of those against the spread trends. Let's talk about Orlando here. They rank 21st in points in the paint allowed per game, so slightly below average in defending against that. Markkanen is the leader for Utah in points in the paint per game. He ranks 14th best in the NBA, followed up by Jaren Jackson Jr., who ranks 44th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. And then Orlando is also slightly below average in fast break points allowed per game to opposing teams. They rank 20th in that category. Once again, Markkanen is the leader for the Jazz. He ranks 28th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. And then Keontae George ranks 40th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. But Keontae George is questionable to play due to an ankle issue tonight. I also think something that's key with these injuries, who's playing and who's not, is going. And I'm not going to talk about it. I have on previous live streams, but usage rate, which basically indicates how important a player is to their team's offense. Usage rate is definitely something to look at as well, which I've done on previous shows. Like I mentioned, Orlando, though, they do real good at defending against the 3-point shot. They rank second best in the NBA as a team in defending against that. They rank ninth best in assists allowed per game, eighth best in rebounds allowed per game. Overall, team defensive efficiency, they're average. They rank 15th in that category. But Orlando does send their opponents to the free throw line quite often. They rank 25th in opponent free throw attempts per game. Guys who could take advantage of that today are Keontae George, who's the leader for the Utah Jazz in free throw attempts per game. He ranks 10th best in the NBA in that category, followed up by Markkanen, who ranks 14th, and Jaren Jackson Jr., who ranks 38th. Let's talk about Utah's defense, or lack thereof. I mean, I think, considering that they rank 30th in team defensive efficiency, I think it's a fair estimate to say that their defense is going to improve a little bit with Jaren Jackson Jr., who, is a quality defender. So, but they do rank 30th in team defensive efficiency right now. As I mentioned earlier, they rank 20th in points in the paint allowed per game. Franz Wagner, who I believe is still going to be out. I mentioned it at the start of the show. He's out today with an ankle issue, but Franz Wagner is the leader for Orlando in points in the paint per game. He ranks 17th best in the NBA, followed up by Banchero, who ranks 26th in that category. And then Utah allows the most fast break points per game to opposing teams. Franz Wagner is the leader for the Orlando Magic, but he's, like I said, he's out today. He does rank 8th best in the NBA in that category in fast break points per game. It followed up by Anthony Black, who ranks 23rd, and then Banchero, who ranks 37th in fast break points per game. If you guys like a 3-point shooter here for Orlando today, Utah does allow the most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. I didn't find anybody for Orlando in the top 50 of the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. But when I'm looking at their starting lineup, I would think that like Desmond Bane would probably be the guy who I would first look at to knock down some threes. Anyways, Utah also allows the most assists per game to opposing teams. Banchero is the leader for Orlando in assists per game. He ranks 40th. Desmond Bane ranks 48th. And then Utah is slightly below average in rebounds allowed per game. They rank 20th. Banchero ranks 17th in the NBA in rebounds per game. Wendell Carter ranks 30th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. Utah sends their opponents to the free throw line, the third most out of any team in the league. Banchero ranks 7th best in the NBA and first for Orlando in free throw attempts per game. So I think if you like Banchero for points today, you have that extra benefit. Just want to mention that Nurkic has a triple double in 0 out of 17 career games against Orlando. Banchero has had a triple double in 0 out of 6 career games against Utah. And then Jalen Suggs has had a triple double in 0 out of 6 career games against Utah. All right. Now we have the Charlotte Hornets, who are blazing hot right now on an 8-game winning streak at the Atlanta Hawks today, who's on a 2-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Charlotte has won one regular season game in a row against Atlanta, but Atlanta won 5 regular season games in a row against Charlotte before that. These teams have played each other twice this season. The first game was on November 23rd. That game was at Atlanta, like it is here today. But on November 23rd, Atlanta won that game 113 to 110. The most recent game was on December 18th. That game was also in Atlanta, and Charlotte won 133 to 126. Charlotte has a 5-6 money line record on Saturdays this season, and Atlanta's 3-5 on the money line on Saturdays this season. Nothing on the line changed from when I looked last night to this morning, except the over under dropped a point. It went from Charlotte was -1.5 when I checked last night and this morning. Last night when I checked the over under, it was 231.5. This morning it was 230.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game. Charlotte leads those trends 2-1. Overall, Charlotte ranks second best in the NBA against the spread this season. They're 31-21 against the spread. Atlanta is 26-27 against the spread. So I give Charlotte the advantage there. And then Charlotte is 3-3 against the spread as a road favorite. Atlanta 7-5 against the spread as a home underdog. So Atlanta's advantage there. And then Charlotte is 12-11 against the spread after a win, which ranks 9th best in the NBA. Atlanta's 13-12 against the spread after a win. It's real close, right? Both teams are one game above 500 against the spread after a win. But due to win percentage, Charlotte is the winner there. Okay. Atlanta. Let me take a drink real quick, guys. Thanks for your patience. All right. Atlanta, they rank 24th in points in the paint allowed to opposing teams per game. I didn't find anybody for Charlotte in the top 50 in the NBA in points in the paint per game. Maybe there's a guy who ranks 51st for all I know. But if you like a player for Charlotte today to score some points, I'd maybe go check out how they are at points in the paint per game, since Atlanta is near the bottom of the league in points in the paint allowed per game. Atlanta allows the 3rd most fast break points per game to opposing teams this season. Kobe White, I believe we said that he's still out. Yeah, he's still out, is what they're saying here on rotowire.com. But he is technically the leader for the Charlotte Hornets in fast break points per game. He ranks 16th best in the NBA, followed up with by Brandon Miller, who ranks 45th, and then Con Knipple, who ranks 46th best in the NBA in that category. Atlanta does rank 14th as a team in 3-point field goals allowed per game, so right about average. LaMelo Ball ranks 1st for Charlotte, 7th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, followed up by Knipple, who ranks 8th, Miles Bridges, who ranks 49th. Atlanta allows more assists per game than league average. They rank 21st in that category. LaMelo Ball is the leader for the Hornets in assists per game, ranks 7th best in the NBA. And then Atlanta also allows a good amount of rebounds per game to opposing teams. They rank 24th in that category. Diabate is the leader for the Hornets in rebounds per game. He ranks 18th in that category. Overall, Atlanta ranks 18th in team defensive efficiency, so slightly below average. Charlotte is slightly better than Atlanta in team defensive efficiency. They rank 16th in that category. Also, I just wanted to mention before I talk about Charlotte's defense, Atlanta does allow more free throw attempts per game than league average. They rank 19th in that category, Once again, I didn't find anybody for Charlotte in the top 50 in free throw attempts per game. But if you like somebody for Charlotte with the points, going over the points today, and they're decent at drawing some contact and getting to the line, I think you have an extra benefit there. Let's talk about Charlotte's points in the paint allowed per game, slightly below average. They rank 19th in that category. So Jalen Johnson's the leader for Atlanta in points in the paint per game. He ranks 8th best in the NBA. Dyson Daniels ranks 47th in the NBA in that category. Charlotte also ranks 19th in fast break points allowed per game, slightly below average. At defending against that, Jalen Johnson ranks 6th best in the NBA in that category in fast break points per game. Nickeil Alexander-Walker ranks 7th. And then Arisa Shea ranks 30th. Charlotte is average at defending against 3-point field goals per game. They rank 15th. Nickeil Alexander-Walker ranks first on the Atlanta Hawks in 3-point field goals made per game and 13th best in the NBA in that category, followed up by CJ McCollum, who ranks 28th. And then Charlotte assists allowed per game, slightly below average. They rank 20th. Jalen Johnson ranks first on Atlanta, third best in the entire NBA. And then assists per game, Dyson Daniels ranks 16th in assists per game in the NBA. I also want to mention that Charlotte allows the fewest rebounds per game to opposing teams. Jalen Johnson has had, I think he's been on a triple-double tear lately, but he does not have a triple-double in 10 career games against Charlotte. Dyson Daniels does not have a triple-double in 9 career games against Charlotte. LaMelo Ball has had a triple-double in 1 out of 11 career games against Atlanta, but he has had a double-double in 6 out of 11 career games against Atlanta, which was plus 209 on DK when I checked at about 6:45 a.m. Eastern time this morning. I'm not saying that I like that play or don't like that play. I'm just giving you guys some data here. All right, and then we got the Nuggets at Chicago Bulls. Both of these teams are on 3-game losing streaks. Neither of these teams played yesterday. The Bulls have won 3 regular season games in a row against the Nuggets, and the Bulls lead the season series 1-0. They've played one time against the Nuggets this year, and Chicago won that game. That game was in Denver. This one today is in Chicago, but that game was on November 17th, and Chicago won by 3 points, 130-127. Denver has a 5-3 money line record on Saturdays this season, and Chicago is 5-4 on the money line on Saturdays this season. On this exact date, February 7th, 1988, Michael Jordan was the NBA All-Star Game MVP as the Eastern Conference beat the Western Conference by a final score of 138-133 in that game. It was the 38th All-Star Game, and it was played at Chicago Stadium. So from my understanding, that stadium was demolished. But anyways, Jamal Murray has a 14-2 career record against, which, by the way, Jamal Murray is the projected starting point guard for the Denver Nuggets. He has a 14-2 career record against Anthony Simons, who's the projected starting point guard for Chicago today. And then Jokic, the projected starting center for the Denver Nuggets, has a 21-6 career record against Anthony Simons. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's projected to be the starting power forward for the Nuggets tonight. But yeah, he has a 12-4 career record against Anthony Simons. The Nuggets, when I checked last night and this morning, the line didn't move. It was -5.5 when I checked last night and this morning. The over/under did go up. It went from 231.5 when I checked last night to 232.5 when I checked at about 6 a.m. Eastern time this morning. Denver ranks third best in the NBA against the spread this season. They're 30-22, and then Chicago's 25-27. So I give Denver that advantage. Denver's 10-8 against the spread as a road favorite. Chicago's 8-4 against the spread as a home underdog. Overall, on that, I give Chicago the advantage. And then Denver has the 7th best record against the spread after a loss in the NBA, whereas Chicago has the third worst against the spread record after a loss. So I give Denver the advantage there. Overall, Denver a 2-1 advantage on those against the spread trends. Chicago, both of these teams are poor in team defensive efficiency. Denver ranks 24th. Chicago is slightly worse on that ranking. They rank 25th in team defensive efficiency. Chicago ranks 26th in points in the paint allowed per game. Maybe that gets better or worse without Vucevic. I'll let you guys be the decider of that. But Jokic is the leader in points in the paint for the Nuggets and ranks third best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. And then Chicago is average at defending against fast break points per game. Christian Brown, I believe he led the NBA in fast break points per game last season. You may want to check me on that, but he is real good at scoring fast break points per game. He's missed some time this season, though. But he does currently rank 39th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. And then Chicago's slightly below average at defending against that three-point shot. They rank 23rd in three-point field goals allowed per game. Jamal Murray ranks first on the Nuggets and ninth best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. Tim Hardaway Jr. ranks 20th best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. Chicago allows the fourth most assists per game to opposing teams. We all know Jokic is capable of the assists, but I don't have him on this list because I think they didn't have him listed because of the lack of games that he's played. But Jamal Murray, I have ranked sixth best in the NBA in assists per game. And then, rebounds allowed per game. Chicago slightly below average at allowing their opponents to get rebounds. They rank 19th in that category. I didn't see anybody in the top 50 for the Nuggets in rebounds per game, but we know Jokic can get boards, right? Anyways, let's talk about the Nuggets defense here. They rank 14th in points in the paint allowed per game. I didn't write anybody for the Chicago Bulls there, but I mean, if you like somebody for the Bulls and points in the paint per game, I could see that happening here tonight. And then fast break points allowed per game. Denver ranks 16th, so slightly below average at defending against that. Giddey, who is out today, is the only player for Chicago in the top 50 of the NBA in fast break points per game. And then Denver, three-point field goals allowed per game, slightly below average. They rank 16th in that category. Anthony Simons is the leader for the Bulls now and ranks 24th in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. Denver does rank 14th in assists allowed per game, so they are slightly above average on that ranking. But I just wanted to, mention that Trey Jones ranks 23rd in assists per game, although he's ruled out today. And I think Denver does rank 15th in opponent free throws allowed per game. So if you like somebody for the Bulls to score some points today and they're decent at getting to the free throw line, I could see them getting, maybe an extra free throw attempt or two due to that. Jokic has a triple-double in 4 out of 17 career games against Chicago. But for all I know, maybe Jokic has a triple-double in 10 out of 10 career games against Anthony Simons. So just because a guy doesn't have, necessarily a great history scoring triple-doubles against a team doesn't mean that he doesn't against a certain player. But Jokic has had a triple-double in his last 2 games against Chicago that he's played them. And then Jamal Murray has never had a triple-double in 14 career games against Chicago. And I think we're all looking forward to this game tonight, right? Golden State Warriors at Lakers. Unfortunately, Steph Curry is not going to be playing in this one. I would double-check that, before game time. But from my understanding, he's not going to be playing in this game, and neither is Kristaps Porzingis. Neither is Doncic. So, but anyways, the Warriors are on a 1-game win streak. The Lakers 2-game winning streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. The Warriors have won 2 regular season games in a row against the Lakers. They've played one time against each other this season, and Golden State won that game. That game was on October 21st, and that game was also in LA, like it is here today. The Warriors won by 10 points, 119 to 109. Golden State is 5-1 on the money line on Saturdays this season. The Lakers are 2-3 on the money line on Saturdays this season. If Steph Curry does play, off the off chance he does play, he needs 50 points to move into 18th place on the all-time points leaders list. He would pass Tim Duncan. But I think maybe this would be more fitting when the Warriors play the Spurs in 4 days. But we'll see if he even plays then. On this date in 2023, so 3 years ago to the day, LeBron scored 38 points against Oklahoma City to become the NBA's leading all-time scorer as he passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's 38,387 career point total. The Lakers were minus 3.5. They were favored by 3.5 points when I checked last night. This morning, they were minus 2.5. The over-under was 222.5 when I looked last night. This morning, it jumped down to 221.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends. I give the Lakers an advantage in all of those trends. The Lakers have a better against the spread record. They have the 6th best against the spread record in the NBA. The Lakers also have the 4th best record against the spread as a home favorite. They're 10-5. The Warriors are 6-5 against the spread as a road underdog. And then the Warriors have a better against the spread record after a win than the Warriors do after a win. The Warriors have the 9th worst against the spread record after a win. Lakers are slightly below average in allowing points in the paint per game to opposing teams. From my understanding, Jimmy Butler is not available, right? So, but if you can find somebody in the top, or not even in the top 50 of the NBA, but points if you like somebody for Golden State tonight and they're decent at scoring points in the paint, I give them a slight advantage there. Generally speaking, right, you could always look at a lot of other different factors, how players perform against certain players, how they perform when I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but there's a lot of different things you can look at, right? Okay, so the Lakers rank 18th in not only points in the paint allowed per game, but fast break points allowed per game. I didn't find anybody for the Warriors in the top 50 in fast break points per game, but if you can find that information, if you can find somebody that's decent for the Warriors at scoring those fast break points, generally speaking, I give you an advantage there. And then the Lakers are slightly below average in 3-point field goals allowed per game. Moody is the guy who, out of available Warriors today, is the leader for the Warriors in 3-point field goals made per game. He ranks 40th in the NBA in that category. The Lakers rank 24th in assists allowed per game, so they're allowing a good amount of assists per game to opposing teams. Draymond Green, out of available Golden State Warriors tonight, is the best at assists per game. He ranks 33rd best in the NBA. I do just want to mention that the Lakers allow the 2nd fewest rebounds per game to opposing teams. And, the Lakers overall team defensive efficiency, they rank 23rd in that category. So they're below average in team defense. Both of these teams are also good at limiting opponent free throw attempts. Okay. All right, let's talk about the Warriors. Points in the paint per game. They do rank 13th. So I went ahead and wrote some guys here for the Lakers that are good at scoring points in the paint. They have many guys that are good at doing that, although Golden State's ranks slightly above average at limiting their opponents' points in the paint per game. Once again, they rank 13th. But Ayton is the leader for the Lakers in points in the paint per game. He ranks 13th best in the NBA, followed up by LeBron, who ranks 16th. Doncic, 30th. Reeves, 38th. Fast break points allowed per game. Warriors are below average at defending against that. And LeBron is the best in the NBA still in fast break points per game. Golden State's been pretty good at defending against the three-point shot. They rank ninth in that category this season. Assists allowed per game, slightly above average. They rank 13th. Rebounds allowed per game, slightly below average. They rank 16th in rebounds allowed per game. So Ayton is the leader for the Lakers in rebounds per game. He ranks 19th best in the NBA, followed up by Doncic, who ranks 25th. LeBron has had a triple-double in 3 of his last 25 career games against the Warriors. And then Draymond Green has not had a triple-double in any of his last 25 games against the Lakers. Hey, chat, I want to ask you guys a serious question. Do you guys think that LeBron James will get a triple-double at any time this season? He hasn't had one yet. Will he ever this season? What do you guys think? Philadelphia at Phoenix. Both of these teams have lost one game in a row. Today is Steve Nash's birthday. You can do what you want with that information, but he used to be the point guard for the Phoenix Suns when I was growing up. Man, I loved watching Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire, and man, who else did they have? Bell? Was it Raha Bell? Anyways, there's a lot of other good players back then that I enjoyed watching, but neither of these teams did play yesterday. Phoenix has won 4 regular season games in a row against Philadelphia. Phoenix has beat them one time this season. They played each other on January 20th, and Phoenix won that game 116-110. Philadelphia does have a 5-1 money line record on Saturdays this season. Phoenix is 3-3 on the money line on Saturdays this season. Phoenix has won on February 7th. As you guys know, today's February 7th. The past 5 times that the Suns have played any team on February 7th, they've won. Last 5 times they've played on this date. Devin Booker, the projected starting shooting guard for Phoenix today, he is questionable to play, but he does have a 9-1 career record against Maxey, who's the projected starting point guard for Philadelphia today. Booker also has an 8-3 career record against Kelly Oubre Jr., who's the projected small forward for Philadelphia today. When I checked last night, Phoenix was favored by 1.5 points. When I checked this morning, Phoenix was favored by 1.5 points. But when I looked last night at the over-under, it was 221.5. Then it moved to 222.5 last that I checked. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game. I give Phoenix a 2-1 advantage. Phoenix has the best against the spread record in the entire NBA. They're 34-18, but Philadelphia is not far behind. They have the 4th best against the spread record in the NBA. But I give Phoenix the advantage there. And then Phoenix is better against the spread as a home favorite than the Sixers are against the spread as a road underdog. In fact, Phoenix ranks 6th best in the NBA against the spread as a home favorite. You know what? Never mind. I was just looking at something here. But yeah, Philadelphia, they do have the 3rd best against the spread record after a loss, where Phoenix has the 4th best. So on that one, I do give Phoenix an advantage, but overall, Phoenix 2-1 advantage on those against the spread search queries. All right, so Phoenix, very good defensive team. They rank 8th best in team defensive efficiency. So I don't see really too many flaws with them. I would say their biggest flaw in regards to where they rank is going to be rebounds allowed per game. They rank 13th in rebounds allowed per game, which is still above league average. And then they rank 10th in points in the paint allowed per game. But, they rank in the top 5 in fast break points allowed per game, 3-point field goals allowed per game, and they rank 6th in assists allowed per game as a team. Philadelphia, I do want to say, actually, Phoenix I would say their biggest vulnerability is the opponent free throw attempts that they allow per game. They rank 20th in that category, so slightly below average, and limiting their opponent's free throw attempts per game. Tyrese Maxey ranks first on Philadelphia and 24th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. And then we have Philadelphia's defense. Overall, they rank 14th in team defensive efficiency, so they're slightly above average as a team in general. But when we were looking at points in the paint allowed per game, they're average. They rank 15th in that category. Mark Williams is the leader for Phoenix in points in the paint per game and ranks 46th best in the NBA in that category. And then Philadelphia ranks 26th in fast break points allowed per game. So they're pretty vulnerable to that fast break point, which is why I think it's pretty important for Devin Booker to play tonight. He's the leader for Phoenix in fast break points per game, and he does rank 24th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. Also, assists allowed per game. Philadelphia actually ranks 23rd in both assists allowed per game and rebounds allowed per game. Devin Booker is the leader in assists per game for Phoenix. He ranks 18th. Gillespie ranks 43rd. And then Mark Williams is the leader in rebounds per game for Phoenix. He ranks 22nd best in the NBA in rebounds per game. Philadelphia is also slightly below average in opponent free throw attempts per game. They rank 16th in that category. Devin Booker is the leader for Phoenix in free throw attempts per game, ranks 6th best in the NBA in that category. Dylan Brooks ranks 46th in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. Then we have Memphis at Portland. Memphis is on a one-game losing streak. Portland, one-game win streak. These teams played each other against each other yesterday. I had mentioned yesterday, right, that and I'm not doing it to like brag or anything, right, because I'm not making any predictions when I do these shows. But I mean, Portland or Memphis had lost on February 6th 10 straight times against any team that they've played against. Now it's 11, So next time, in a year from now, you can maybe look out for that if they play on February 6th. But I just kind of want, if I were watching a show like this, I would keep track of stuff like that, I think finding like against the spread trends or finding trends like that, or like the Kawhi Leonard trend yesterday where he had won 15 career games in a row against Levine. I think those trends I don't find them every day, but when I do find them, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But that doesn't necessarily mean to just blindly go with those trends. I would keep track of those trends and see, finding a trend is one thing. Keeping track of the trend is a whole nother thing. So anyways, Portland has won one regular season game in a row against Memphis. The season series is split between these teams 1-1. The first time that they played against each other this season was on December 7th, where Memphis won. That game was at Memphis. Memphis won by a final score of 119-96. The other game that they played in was yesterday. That game was in Portland, like it is here today. And Portland won 135-115. Memphis has a 2-3 money line record on Saturdays this season, and Portland is 3-1 on the money line on Saturdays this season. I didn't look at this line last night, but when I checked this morning, Portland was -9.5, over under 237.5. I give Portland 3 against the spread trend advantages in this game. Memphis is the 4th worst team against the spread in the NBA in general. And they're the 5th worst team against the spread as a road underdog this season, whereas Portland ranks 9th best as a home favorite against the spread this season. And then Portland is better against the spread after a win. They rank 9th best in the NBA after a win. Then Memphis is after a loss. Memphis ranks 8th worst against the spread after a loss. So Portland, clean sweep there against the spread trends, 3-0. This is probably going to be, repetitive on what I talked about yesterday with this game. But, I mean, not much has changed since, a couple hours ago. But, yeah, Portland does rank 17th in points in the paint allowed per game. The points in the paint leaders for the Grizzlies are out today, from my understanding. I would do your, just double check on that before game time. But yeah, Edey and Morant are the leaders for Memphis in points in the paint per game. But from my understanding, those guys are out. Portland ranks 27th in fast break points allowed per game. Ty Jerome, who's probable to play tonight, it looks like, or they didn't even update this, huh? Yeah. I don't see anything really that indicates whether Ty Jerome is playing or not. Here on rotowire.com, it says that he's probable to play, but then when I click on his name, it just has Friday's explanation on it. But they are saying here that he should be available for this game. Okay. But anyways, yeah, Ty Jerome is the leader for Memphis in fast break points per game. He ranks 30th in the NBA, followed up by John Morant, who should be unavailable tonight, but he does rank 49th best in the NBA. Portland assists allowed per game, slightly below average. They rank 19th in assists allowed per game. Cam Spencer ranks 25th best in the NBA in assists per game. Overall, team defensive efficiency for Portland, they do rank 19th. So a little bit below average. And just so you guys know, Memphis ranks 17th. So they're a little bit better with team defensive efficiency. But it's going to be interesting to see, if Memphis can still, hang around defensively, considering one of their best defenders, if not their best defender, Jaren Jackson Jr., is gone now. He was traded. But, Portland, before I talk about Memphis, one last thing about Portland is that they rank 21st in opponent free throw attempts per game. So if you know somebody from Memphis who can draw some contact, get to the line, I do give them a better chance to do so today, generally speaking, considering they're going up against Portland, who allows more free throw attempts per game to opposing teams than league average. And then, Memphis, they're pretty solid at defending against points in the paint per game, fast break points per game. But the 3-pointers is where their Achilles heel is. Kamara ranks first on the Blazers and 33rd best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, followed up by Avia, who I believe is questionable today. I'm unsure about the injuries for especially these last two games that I'm talking about here. But yeah, Avia ranks 43rd in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And then Krejci ranks 50th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. Memphis is slightly below average in assists allowed per game. They rank 17th in that category. Avia ranks 12th in assists per game to opposing teams, or not to opposing teams, just 12th best in the NBA. And then Memphis rebounds allowed per game. They rank 18th in that category, so slightly below average at allowing their opponents to get rebounds on them per game. Klingon, the projected center for Portland today, ranks first on Portland in rebounds per game, third best in the entire NBA, followed up by Avia, who ranks 34th best in the NBA. And then Avia has not had a triple-double and he hasn't had a triple-double in 12 career games against Memphis. Then the last game of the night here, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers at Sacramento Kings. Cleveland is on a 2-game win streak. The Kings are on an 11-game losing streak. Cleveland did not play yesterday, but Sacramento did. Cleveland has won 1 game in a row against Sacramento. Cleveland has beat them 1 time earlier this season, and the only game that these two teams have played against each other. They played on January 23rd, and Cleveland won by 5 points. It was 123 to 118, and that game was in Cleveland. This one today is in Sacramento. Cleveland is 4-2 on Saturdays this season on the money line. Sacramento, although they're terrible, although they are on an 11-game losing streak, they have a 12-41 record. They have a 4-1 money line record on Saturdays this season. Cleveland has won 4 times in a row that they've played on this exact date, February 7th, against any team. James Harden, he's questionable to play tonight, but he does have a 16-5 career record against Zach LaVine. James Harden also has a 20-4 career record against Sabonis. Donovan Mitchell for the Cleveland Cavaliers, projected shooting guard tonight, has a 13-2 career record against Zach LaVine. Also, Harden was born in Los Angeles, California. Jarrett Allen was born in San Diego, California. So this game is being played in California. So maybe these guys have a little bit extra to play with tonight, a little bit extra chip on their shoulder. Maybe they'll have some friends and family in the stands. I'm not quite sure. But when I looked last night, Cleveland was favored by 12.5. When I looked this morning, same case. The over-under was 234.5 in both scenarios as well. Against the spread trends, I looked at 4 of them since there was that rest advantage versus rest disadvantage trend. But, overall, I give the against the spread trends, it's tied 2-2. Both of these teams are terrible against the spread in general. Cleveland is the 3rd worst team in the NBA against the spread, but Sacramento is the worst team against the spread in the NBA. And then, Sacramento is Cleveland. Well, let's see. Sacramento is better against the spread as a home underdog than Cleveland is as a road favorite due to win percentage. And then Cleveland is 7th worst in the NBA against the spread after a win. Sacramento is the worst team against the spread after a loss. And then Cleveland is 2-7 against the spread with rest advantage this season, which ranks 2nd worst. Sacramento is 5-12 against the spread with rest disadvantage, which ranks 3rd worst. But Sacramento does get that advantage due to win percentage. Sacramento is a pretty bad defensive team. They rank 28th in team defensive efficiency. They rank 28th also in points in the paint allowed per game. So they allow the 3rd most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. The leader for Cleveland is Evan Mobley, who I believe is still out. Yes, I'm seeing here on January 27th on rotowire.com, they said that he could miss up to 3 weeks. But yeah, technically he is the leader in points in the paint per game for Cleveland. He ranks 25th in the NBA. Next man up, Jarrett Allen, who ranks 26th. Donovan Mitchell, who ranks 36th. Sacramento is actually pretty decent at limiting fast break points per game and 3-point field goals made per game. Assists allowed per game, slightly below average. They rank 22nd. James Harden is the leader for Cleveland in 3-point field goals made per game. He ranks 4th in the NBA. Next up, Donovan Mitchell, 22nd. Schroeder, 31st. And then Sacramento ranks 19th in rebounds allowed per game. Mobley, I'm not going to talk about him, but he is the leader for Cleveland. Next man up, Jarrett Allen, who ranks 23rd in the NBA in that category. Also, Sacramento sends their opponents to the free throw line the 5th most. No, let me rephrase that because it's not free throw trips per game, right? It's free throw attempts. They allow the 5th most free throw attempts per game to opposing teams. Donovan Mitchell is the leader for Cleveland in free throw attempts per game. He ranks 21st. Mobley, 32nd. Jarrett Allen, 45th. Overall, Cleveland has a pretty solid defense. They rank 12th in team defensive efficiency. Points in the paint allowed per game, they do well with that. They rank 6th best in that category. Where they have trouble at is defending against fast break points. They rank 25th in that category. So Zach LaVine could take advantage of that. He ranks 1st on the Kings, 19th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. Followed up by Keegan Murray, who ranks 47th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. And then Cleveland's also below average at defending against the 3-point field goals made per game. And LaVine is the leader for the Kings in 3-point field goals made per game, ranks 32nd best in the NBA in that category. Cleveland is average at defending against assists allowed per game. Russell Westbrook is the leader for Sacramento in assists per game, ranks 14th best in the NBA. And then Cleveland ranks 21st in rebounds allowed per game. So they're below average in allowing rebounds per game to opposing teams. Renault ranks 49th, but we all know Sabonis can get rebounds, So, from my understanding, he's missed some time, so they didn't have him on the official statistics list there. And then Cleveland is slightly below average at limiting opponent free throw attempts per game. DeRozan is the leader for the Kings, who ranks 25th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. And then for the triple-double guys out there, Westbrook has had a triple-double in 5 of his last 25 games against Cleveland. Sabonis has had a triple-double in 1 of his last 25 career games against Cleveland. And then James Harden has had a triple-double in 5 of his last 25 career games against Sacramento. But I think that about does it for today. I mean, obviously, guys, there's a lot of other information that we could, that you guys can look at throughout the day, such as like bench points allowed per game, the potential assists. You could look at best defenders versus the worst defenders in the NBA lists from any source that you'd like. One that I know off the top of my head is craftednba.com. That you could look at that. You could look at recent history, how often in the last 10 games. And I see a lot of live streams like that on the internet where people have, apps on their phone or on the computer. They have like the computer up, their screen that's showing you like what certain players have done in the last 10 games. So I think that information can definitely be valuable. Also, what a player has done against a team in the past, what a player has done against a specific player for that team in the past. Referee assignments. And let me try anything else at the top of my head. I mean, there's just all types of stuff, So, anyways, I really appreciate you guys for tuning in today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Good luck. And I just want to say thank you, not just to you guys, but to the sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right. Well, I'll see you guys soon. Take care and good luck.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.